Hi everyone and welcome to your daily oracle reading. The challenge, Six of Fire. This card usually represents triumph, victory, success, achieving your goal, and that is why the graphical representation of this card shows a sorceress, a shamaness, or simply someone being on her spiritual path performing a victory dance, which is also like a ritualistic celebration of whatever the universe has guided her towards. So it definitely represents that she is more than satisfied, she is really happy, and it depicts a perfect moment when she connects with the universe and offers it her gratitude. She offers the universe her thanks, her happiness, her deep appreciation of the connection that is between her and the source. But since it is in challenge position, which means the shadow expression of this card, and that is not being able to see your own victory, not being able to see your own triumph, and ultimately, if we take it into the present moment, maybe you are on the right path, maybe you are being maximally guided, you're being maximally supported by your guides or the universe or whatever, the power of the spirit, but just that you don't see it. On one hand, of course, you perceive it, of course, you can 100% tell that something is around you, that there is a benevolent intelligence in your life making things happen for you and guiding you in a way where you don't even have to foresee things, you don't have to even calculate and fear or hope at all because it's somehow guiding you passively to the right path, even without you having to do the mental work, so to speak, because all it requires of you is trust. And throughout the past 6 months of your life, it has proven to you on several many occasions not only that it's trustworthy, but also that it knows things, its intelligence is infinitely greater than yours, and it can work in very mysterious ways in which your human self cannot find the logic, it cannot see the reason behind it, but ultimately, when things come together, only then can you see the benevolence, only then can you see that it never steered you wrong, even though at sometimes it did appear to you as if you were being guided to all the wrong choices. Maybe taking leaps of faith, maybe risking, maybe surrendering things which your human self didn't agree with, but ultimately your trust, your decision to follow your intuition, to follow that external divine intelligence which is enveloping your life, was the best choice you could have ever made. So even though you are aware of all of this, still where all of this is leading you, the big picture, the picture of your authentic future, is still a big mystery. It is still surrounded by a impenetrable mist of confusion because you do trust, you do accept the divine logic. Even your non-linear way of logic is telling you that you are definitely on the right path, just that you don't see it as a victory. You don't perceive it as something empowering. You don't perceive it as you standing in your position of power, even though you actually are. Even though you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do and excelling greatly. As in, not only are you doing all the right things, not only are you making all the right choices, not only is everything that you express, your creativity, your truth, everything that has to do with your personal power. So not only is it more than appropriate, but it's also excelling. It is also doing much more than anyone, even the universe, even your own source expects from you. And this is why you don't see your greatness. You don't see just how successful you already are. You don't see the magic and miracle of everything that is going on in the present moment in your life, which on one hand is perfectly natural because the world is still going through a big crisis, a big pivotal point. It is healing its ancestral trauma, so to speak. So these are extremely hard times. So on one hand, it's perfectly natural for you not to feel on top of the world and not to celebrate. But on the other hand, a part of you, especially your mental sphere, still judges success extremely subjectively, because success still means to you what it means to the rest of the world, like being big, being relevant, or having all kinds of rewards or benefits because of your work and whatever you do. Or maybe you would expect much more divine presence in your life, or maybe it has to do with the appreciation of others, where in a very direct manner other people or those who surround you reflect your success. But all of these are rather illusionary, because in the present circumstances, when the world's value system is changing 180 degrees, well, those expectations have to be surrendered. They have to be just cast out, purged out, because the future we're walking collectively into is going to be totally different. Not just the value system, but also what success means for everyone, and that also includes you. So, this card challenges you not to make very quick judgments, not to allow your mind to alter your reality in a very negative way, because deep down in your soul, deep down in your psyche, you know that you're on the right path. You know that every single second of this present moment, you are actually triumphing, you're actually achieving success in more than one ways. Yes, this also means personal success, where you're actually advancing and doing very important things regarding your soul path, regarding your personal situation, but at the same time, you're also contributing to society, to the world, you're also co creating this future that you wish to experience and the rest of the world deserves to experience. So you're actually doing a lot of work, just that because of your modesty and because life used to be so very different, so very defeating, so very negative, full of pain and suffering, just maybe 6 months ago, you have to get used to what it means and what it feels like to be successful. Because even though you are successful, even though you're doing more than you should, you're excelling greatly, how can you actually tell if you never experienced this? How can you actually tell if the past was only about failures, only about having to surrender, having to wait, having to learn a bit more, having to do a bit more work? And yes, because the transition from the past into the future happened so suddenly, so unexpectedly, in a very shocking way, where the physical world, physical reality, collective society just changed from one moment onto the other. You still need to process all of this, because everything is still not actually stored deep within your mind. It is just all on the surface in a very unstructured and chaotic way. So you will probably need moments of rest, moments of just sitting down with yourself and trying to process whatever went on in your life right now. And only then can you see that you're actually on the path, on the road to success, to triumph, to accomplishing your desires and also your soul path. So it's perfectly natural not to celebrate and not to think that highly of yourself in the present moment, well, because this process hasn't finished yet. So it's all a big work in progress, and you will definitely still going to have moments of hardships, moments when you will be rather close to defeat or feeling defeat, feeling the illusion of defeat, and that is perfectly natural, perfectly human. No one expects you to yield your power with perfect clarity and with self-consciousness. Whatever you're doing, just know that it's enough. It is even more than enough, and you're doing everything that you have to, everything that you need to. So you have all the reasons to keep on trusting, because you're definitely on the right path. the opportunity, the awakening. Now, the awakening is the judgment in classic tarot, and the judgment in astrology is simply the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. And this big conjunction is going to take place on the 21st of December 2020. And what is really, really special about it, that each and every time when a big conjunction happens in the sky, it doesn't matter which sign, that opens a new paradigm, that opens a new era, that sets the tone just like a pitching fork for the next 20 years of our lives. And in the past 200 years, most of the big conjunctions took place in earth signs, which also meant that the material aspects of our lives, physical reality, everything that has to do with matter, everything that has to do with real life, everything that has to do with job, career, and material structure has been emphasized on, not just by the stars, but also most people psychologically. And of course, the negative expression of all this, because when we enter into a new paradigm, we don't just get the good things, we also get the shadowy parts, and that is definitely greed, that is definitely survival mentality taken into extremes. That means fanaticism, that means intolerance, because our instincts, our earthly selves, are the ones being emphasized. So yes, we can use our earthly selves as tools to create something beautiful and good and constructive, but at the same time, we also have to face the challenges that come with it, which is definitely one of the keywords here is greed. Greed and insatiable appetite to just have and accumulate and be relevant. But we can also say that in the present moment, this is almost a thing of the past, because the next great conjunction is just this winter, just this December. And what's special about it, that it is taking place in the 0 degrees of Aquarius, a sign which has to do with the future, a sign which has to do with humanitarianism, with interhuman connections, but also the empowerment of the individual, our own distinctiveness and uniqueness, which can perfectly coexist in harmony, in unity. So yes, it is a kind of divergence, but within that divergence we can find unity, a greater compassion, greater understanding, greater acceptance of one another, where we take our differences as something totally valuable addition to our lives, to our own personality. So this can create a very, very beautiful, desired future by so many of us, because Aquarius is an air sign, so it's everything has to do with the mind, with the intellect, with the highest philosophies, with the highest principles, with our highest expression of our knowledge and cerebral activities, because Uranus governs Aquarius, and Uranus is the planet of revolution. It always provokes evolution, stepping into the future, everything that is ingenious, everything that is visionary, futuristic. So this is definitely where we are stepping into, and not only is this the main theme of the next 20 years, because most of the great conjunctions in the coming 100 years are going to be predominantly in air signs. So the intellectual element, the mental sphere, the mind is going to be emphasized in the future greatly, and that is where solutions, that is where our future actually lies, in the mind. So right now, in this present moment, amongst everything else that we are doing, the coronavirus crisis, the economic crisis, the change of value systems, the political conflicts, and the international conflicts that are just beginning. Now, these are just one side of the spectrum, because on the other hand, we're also purifying, refining, purging our mental spheres so that we have a greater degree of mental discipline, power over our minds, not to allow the chaos and the negativity to infect us, because that is the virus. Yes, the virus is the physical representation of SARS-CoV-2, but at the same time, it is also what is in our minds, also our seeds of hatred, seeds of intolerance. The survival mentality went sour, bitter, where it is just ruling us, it is gripping us, where some people are actually considering, well, you know what, if this is the price of survival, well, then I'd rather not survive than to live in a world of hatred and intolerance. But this is why the Great Conjunction in the sign of Aquarius is going to change all of this by changing us, by changing our minds, and by allowing us to view things differently, to have a totally different, elevated perspective of every single element of our lives and physical reality as well. And this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity where we're heading towards. This is the true awakening. This isn't just spiritual awakening. That is just one side of the spectrum, a very minor and for some people even insignificant element. But the mental, the intellectual, the awakening of our intelligent minds, the evolution of our mental spheres, our new neural pathways, the reconfiguration of the Schumann resonance, all of this is scientific, all of this is measurable. So this is the true awakening. Because yes, the spiritual awakening is just one side, but its manifestation is going to be definitely the big picture, the mental awakening. When many people, when society, the human collective, seen as one interconnected living organism, is evolving mentally, if we have greater degree of control over our thoughts, if our science incorporates morality and who we are on the soul level, if psychology evolves just a tiny little bit into a more futuristic representation of what it should be, well then that's already a massive change. And regardless of the present moment chaos and the conflict and the inevitable wars that are going to break out, and here I don't necessarily mean physical wars, but ideological wars, and the breakdown in diplomatic relationships. Now all of these are just necessary elements to lead us into the future, where we can have a future without all of these. So of course in the present moment we are being forced almost to emphasize on these so they can find resolution. We can clear our collective traumas, the traumas caused by our ancestors, so to speak, by their bad choices, by their fanaticism, by their religious blindness. And this is going to open up a totally new world for all of us, where it doesn't have to be supernatural, it actually doesn't have to be magical or the event or anything like that. It's simply a question of perspective, because what we think is what we create. The resolution, 5 of Fire. Now this is a rather assertive card because it represents verbal or idealistic conflict. So on one hand, the very close future we're heading towards is not going to be easy sailing. It is not going to be paradise. It is not going to be a world full of peace. It is not going to be 5D Earth, that is almost for certain, but it is going to be a place where everyone is definitely empowered, where our conflicts no longer have to be manifested physically, as in killing each other, but we can take our conflicts, our battles, onto the symbolism of Aquarius, as in the internet, as in interhuman connections, as in principles, as in philosophies, as in general morality. And if they find resolution there, if they clash virtually, well then chances are that it is one of the keys to world peace, isn't it? Because we don't have to enact our conflicts like wild, bloodthirsty animals. We can just do it mentally and be happy with whatever resolution we reach. But for this, we also have to toughen up. We also have to strengthen ourselves. And this is why The six of fire will be so important because there will come a moment when we have to celebrate our victory, when we have to embrace our triumph, when we have to declare in front of the universe that yes, we have made it, and we are so appreciative and happy that we were helped and guided. But at the same time, when we reach that moment, we also have to protect our inner truth. We also have to protect what we represent. We also have to protect our opinions, our individuality, our distinctiveness, whatever makes us special. And that represents also our flaws and weaknesses, because it's not just virtues, even our flaws, even our impurities and imperfections, or our mutations, so to speak, make us distinctive and make us who we are. So basically, they are also values. We also have to treasure them and protect them when other people challenge it. So, yes, on one hand, the future is going to be very empowered, but we also have to protect ourselves in order for us to be part of the future. And by this, I don't mean wars and conflicts and physical battles. We just have to stand up for ourselves morally, ideologically, philosophically, so to speak. We have to protect what we believe in, and this is going to be really important and not a negative thing, because it doesn't mean we'll act with hatred and intolerance and anger. Just rather, we want to make sure that our own personal opinions and our distinctiveness have a place in the future and they matter to the collective. So this is like a relationship. This is exactly why toxic positivism and lies and deception is such a negative thing, because if someone thinks that the future is going to look like paradise or peace on earth or Shangri-La or whatever, well, they're very wrong, because the future isn't about passivity. The future is about evolution, and evolution has conflict, evolution has clashes, evolution has elements which reconfigure their own relationships. So it's going to be very dynamic, and speaking your truth and defending it is going to be really important and relevant. But before you can defend your own truth, you need to be aligned with it and know exactly what it is and all the reasons why you need to protect it. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this was useful. Have a blessed and safe day, everyone. Bye for now.